Hi, what's up? We're in the next part. Please go check out the previous parts to gauge your bearings. It's important for you to watch the previous part because it really informs or is the backstory to this part. I'm busy explaining a dream that I had when I was still working in corporate, but that I was able to figure out what was going on there once I lost everything. Because whatever it is that was in that dream basically was starting to happen in my life. Okay? I explained the first part of the dream with the home economics class with ladies and what in the world that meant. It was God showing me that the strategy of the secret society was to basically subdue women to subdue women to the desire. This was really a very strongly black theme. So yeah, I just have to put that out there. It was black men that did this to black women. There wasn't a single white face, colored face, Indian face in my dream. Like, you must understand, it is a strategy, yeah, but it has decimated the country just in total because South Africa is frankly majority black. So it's really ruined the land. Anyway, and they were basically trying to subdue black women to choosing homemaking, choosing raising children, choosing learning all things household instead of careers. There's nothing wrong with choosing to be a homemaker. If anything, frankly, I wanted to be one. But you don't get to be locked in that choice where you don't have options to do anything else. The women in my dream that were in this class, like I said, I saw them. They were from my waking life. A lot of them were in corporate South Africa, the space that I was working in. Some of them were my friends. Some of them were I didn't recognize their faces. But they were women that actually had careers and everything and were doing well. However, they were locked in this room. And this room basically was what was keeping them go grade 9, which is the last grade where it is that I did home economics. Essentially, God was showing me with that is that they want to keep them from pursuing careers that are deemed by a chauvinist climate of men to be for women. They want to block them from pursuing careers that are considered to be within the field of men. So you don't get to be a lawyer, you don't get to be a project manager or an engineer. Yeah, just really old school mindsets. It's like the tyranny of apartheid South Africa, but this time around, instead of it being Bantu education over black people forced down our throats by white people, it is black men forcing down black women's throats a certain only kind of education, a certain only kind of outcome, a certain only kind of future, where it doesn't matter how smart you are or what you want to do. Bottom line is, you're a woman, just be pregnant. You're a woman, just have marry me. You're a woman, work the house. You're a woman, buy groceries, learn how to be thrifty with money, learn how to be savvy with shopping. But I'll be the one, but you don't get to do what I do. Essentially trying to build their manhood on force, on coercion. And because there is no way under heaven that women would ever agree to do this naturally, in and of themselves, or maybe even by influence, they imagine that they will then spiritually manipulate them. So the females in my dream, in this particular classroom, were zombie-like. It's like they were dead. I told you, they looked dazed. They were just in this mode, sewing these bags, right? I said there wasn't a single white person in that dream. It was the teacher, but the only reason why she was in this because it's the teacher that I had go home, make Vela go grade 9. So there was nothing more significant about her other than the fact that she was my grade 9 home economics teacher. Yeah, no, these women were dazed. Do you understand? They were far. They were just not present. They were not present, like, at all in this ecosystem. Nonetheless, they were there. They were there sewing, but their minds were far away and they were locked in this room. I then told you from that space in that dream, from that particular vantage point, I then tried to take a step because my feet were on solid ground. Next thing I found myself, I found one of my feet caved into a floor that was wooden, and when I looked down, it was like, whoa, like stories upon stories. I was high up in the sky in a skyscraper where just prior to that I was on solid ground on just the first floor. Do you understand what I'm saying? Oh my goodness. Well, so that particular segment of the dream, the Holy Spirit revealed to me, basically stands for free movement, dare you try. So remember, those ladies were in a classroom that was locked and the floor underneath them was stable. I, however, was walking around, right? And the first step that I took, I nearly plunged literally to my demise. And what that was saying was, if you want to roam freely, if you want to go left or right the way that you desire, well, you might just end up dead. If you insist on doing whatever you want to do, if you insist that you want to thrive your career, if you want to start a business, if you want to do a different thing other than what I insist you must do, you might just find yourself 6 feet under. Essentially, this whole strategy is it's just coercive. coercive. You might find yourself in dangerous terrain. It is coercive. It's a whole bunch of men that basically got to a point where they were like, we're fed up with these strong women and what they're doing. I already did a series where I explained how African women are. We are nothing like American women or other women in the West. Nothing. So even though we might indeed, thanks to apartheid being overwhelmed and education being more leveled and us being given more opportunities, we might be more educated and we might also be making more money. But what is true of especially Black African women is that in spite of gunning for our careers and doing whatever under heaven else that we can do out there, we are still very, very much domesticated when it comes to our men. We're still kind of ride or die. Never mind being ride or die, but also domesticated. Like, we wash dishes. Like, we will go to men's apartments and we will become these like cooks and cleaners in the weekend, and then on Monday you like wear guayao and you walk into an office building and you do your project management job. Like domestic queens that literally juggle that and their careers. We don't insist that I'm not going to be washing dishes, I'm not going to be cooking at these men's families. Go mahabona. We peel potatoes. We resoka dipapa when we don't even do that in our own parents' households. That's how much Black women, especially in Africa, just desperately want to get married. And they desperately want to impress men to a point of like hyper domesticating themselves in the climate of men in a way that they just are not domesticated in their own personal capacity or even in their own parents' households. I already spoke about that. So this is just rapacity. This is just just an exorbitant amount of greed on the part of men. Because frankly, the domestic queen, they already have her in African women. They do. We don't rebel against gender roles, not like Western women. We really do not. We have not been taken over by the tsunami, not entirely anyway, of feminism. It would be a lie to accuse African women of being feministic. We simply are not. We are not. There might be one or two here in these corners, in these streets that are, but largely we aren't. Largely, we are still very domesticated, albeit incredibly intelligent and having strong careers too. We somehow managed to make both things work. So the complaint of Black men is rooted in rapacity, in entitlement, and in them feeling small because we are getting so big, because we are getting so strong. So therefore, they say, they ended up, in my, what I sensed in my dream is that there is a very strong climate of wrath, anger against us for getting educated, for getting careers, for getting to places like our own apartments. If you look at the Black African girl that's like 22, 23, a lot of times she will be a lot more successful than the Black African boy at 22, 23. She's doing better. She's got a better job. She's a lot more responsible in it. She's getting promoted first before him. It's just happening across the board. I saw it happen with my ecosystem of friends. Frankly, I will tell you just a brief story because I don't want to labor on that because I've already done so very many parts, and there is an actual other point that I'm actually trying to prove other than just instead of just this one. When I was growing up, like maybe 17, 18, all right, 19, we were dating this like crew of friends, of guy friends as girlfriends, and us the middies, the ladies in question were still in high school, and these guys were post high school. They had matriculated. Some of them were in college. No one was in university. Some of them were working 9-to-5 jobs in corporate South Africa, go to call centering and what have you, like call centers, administration jobs, whatever, okay, like the entry-level jobs in corporate. We then matriculated, right, and then we went to university. First, second, third year Wits, and then you graduate, maybe go fourth year to do your honors. That's when we then start doing, this is now what, 21, 22, 23. Then you get your first job in corporate, you are an intern, blah, 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 what a fish paste. So you graduate your internship, you then get a permanent job in corporate. And the amount, because of the fact that you've graduated from university, your first, basically proper salary affords you a car, affords you maybe even your first apartment. I saw girls that I grew up with starting from being, these middies that party with these guys, and these guys are the ones buying drinks because these chicks don't got no money. They're in high school. Their parents give them allowances. To these women now paying the way of these men. They're the ones now that are buying the booze. They're the ones now where the guy is visiting her at her apartment because she's the one that has gotten her own apartment while he's still staying at home with his parents. They're the ones that are driving. Yeah, so a lot of times these guys, we used to commute together in like one car and squeeze. Like literally 10 of us in one car just to go to the club because only one dude had a car. Only 2 of them had cars. The women then ended up getting cars like at what, 22, 3, they bought their cars and their boyfriends had yet to either get cars or apartments. So it's like, just, there was this one, guys, a rapid growth. I saw it happen like in front of my eyes very quickly, and I was among such females who, I have nothing. I'm getting 250 from my mother, and then next thing I've got a car, next thing I've got an apartment, next thing I'm getting promoted, and it is at the end, yeah, proper. Like I even told you guys that my boyfriend, the one who's this story, this whole thing, Kipiziki Waka situation, when we met, he was earning more than me, Koko Zenteng, and within the first year of us being together, I had already gotten a promotion that caused me to earn more than him, right? These are the things that they are slower than us. One girl, when we were in high school, all of us were dancing together. We both went to Wits University. She did a BA in HR, and I was doing it BCom. My whole life fell apart and things happened, whatever. She eventually graduated from Wits, right? I had to drop out, and then I took myself back to school afterwards because my mom wasn't paying my fees, type establishment thing. This chick got her first internship or whatever in corporate South Africa. The guy that she was dating, they broke up, right? They broke up when the guy that she was married to, she didn't stay with him. A lot of us didn't actually stay with these guys, right? She broke up with a dude and ended up with some other guy. But when I was working in corporate, she ended up working in the same company as me in some department, HR type thing, right? And I was like, oh hi, let's say her name was Lerato. I was like, oh hi Lerato, nice to see you. How's life going? Good to see you over here. She stayed in that company. I ended up moving to MTN, and she grew from strength to strength to strength until she got her own car, had her own apartment, and all that jazz. The guy, the boyfriend that she dated when we were still on the Kamabra Jiva and all that jazz, was working for MTN, and he was a call center supervisor or something, and he used to come to, I was a project manager, right? And so every so often we needed a call center, either supervisors or managers to come to our meetings for the operational component. When we hand over the project now to operations, we needed, and especially in close proximity to going live with projects, we needed the operational side to come through. And so the executives would allot, or the senior managers would allot, either call center managers or supervisors to come to our meetings so that handover can happen to the call centers. And I was senior in the worst way to this guy. I was basically his boss, and it was a little bit odd and uncomfortable, but that's just what it was. He was older than me by like 3 or 4 years, and he was like basically the men. They were the men in the crew of like friends that we looked up to. And now here it is that in corporate South Africa, he's basically my subordinate. I somehow have become his boss when he was supposed to be ahead of me, given that he's older and he had a lot more time to be in corporate, a lot more time to be in school. And also he's a man. They tend to get given more favor, higher salaries, etc. Yet we caught up with them and just skyrocketed past them. His ex-girlfriend was where I was at, right? In another company, however, and all I could think about was what's going on. Not only was this guy on that tip where I was basically his boss, it also happened with another dude where I went to high school with him. He was a grade above me. He was a matric when I was in grade 11. When I started working for MTN, shortly afterwards, he also started working for MTN. He was a tester, right? I got promoted and he stayed in his level. And then because he was a tester and I'm a project manager, again, he became a resource in my project. So essentially I was like his boss. He was older than me. And there was like, ultimately witchcraft became a thing in this guy's life. Like just an insecurity that they feel because I was older than this girl. I was basically her big brother in high school, and now she is like my boss in corporate. Like what's happening? Again, another dude that we all used to jive out with, buying drinks and everything. He had a car and what have you. One day I'm walking in the building and I'm like, oh my goodness, hey there, how you doing? And he's like, I'm good. I'm like, oh my god, like I didn't know you work here. What department do you work for? Lo and behold, indeed works at the call center. At this stage, I am a project manager. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's really good to see you. Goodbye. Again, another case in point. Guy that I went to high school with, exactly same grade. I was a project manager. He was in the call center. There was just like this is something that I don't know if it's a lack of ambition or just kind of slowly, like maturity is just such a big fat problem in guys. And when then women start making more than them, they get angry. So such things as these, such eventualities as these caused a climate in the country of a whole bunch of men that literally got upset, angry, like livid with the fact that we are strong. We did not become mean, horrible, or like sizing them up. We just became more able to do for ourselves that which they historically used to do, more so even than them, to a point of, like I said, ending up more or less their bosses. And they got mad at us for that. Even though there was no disrespect, even though we were still ride or die, even though we were still pretty domesticated when called for it. Yeah, so we have just been getting attacked for no other reason than the fact that we got strong. It's evil, it's mean, it's ill-spirited, and it has frankly destroyed the country. So in this dream, I took one footstep and all of a sudden I was about to plunge to my death. What is that? It is an entitled spirit that says, "Lezinja zabafazi." These stupid women, if you insist that you don't want to be in home ec class and you want to take steps and roam this country freely, we're going to freeze you, block you, and if you still want to push ahead, you literally will die. They are threatening us, kamafu. You will find yourself in a dangerous position. So, lo and behold, a couple of years down the line, from that very date, I got that dream in 2014. Or no, in about 2013, headed into 2014. 2014 was when I lost everything. What has ever since then happened in the country? A very bad, horrific, terrible case of gender-based violence that lands women in dangerous terrain because they're dating guys that are much too tiny. When I was working at MTN, there was this one lawyer girl in legal and regulatory that was butchered, massacred by her boyfriend because she wanted to leave him. It was such a sad story when we got communicated it, and for the life of me, I remember just thinking, I wonder if my boyfriend would ever do that to me. I was at the time dating this very guy that I'm busy telling the story about right now. I was like, I wonder if my boyfriend would ever do that to me if I tried to walk out. Lo and behold, a couple of years down the line, he's trying to do exactly what that woman endured. She was a colored lady. She got chopped into pieces by a boyfriend that was like unprepared to let her go. She was a lawyer. I don't know what that dude did for his career or what bottom line is, he was prepared to go to prison. It was like, you will leave here in a casket. So this sorcery that is very coercive is resulting in women who want to do what they want to do anyway. They want to walk, they want to roam freely because they get to. But when they try to go, they find themselves in dangerous terrain. My foot dipped into an unstable floor and I nearly died. And then I was arrested by fear. I could not roam freely. Lo and behold, in the dream, I then looked around. It was a very unstable building. It wasn't reinforced, and a whole bunch of women were shuffling around on the walls, scared for their lives, afraid that if they move freely, they also will die. There is a climate of fear in the country. The only women that were in harm's way, that were in danger, were the ones that were outside of the home economics class. The ones in the home ec class were safe insofar as they stayed in there and locked up. The ones that wanted to roam freely were in danger. And one did actually die. In my dream, I told you this. I heard one woman tried to take a step. The floor underneath her caved in, and she screamed all the way down. And then we heard her fall, and that was her death. Like, the Lord showed me the roots, guys, of not only GBV but whatever's going on. Yeah, no, it is because of a secret society, Yako KwaZulu Natal, that has infiltrated the whole country. It's got networks across the land, but its hub is in KZN. Its main head office is in KZN, and as to when it commenced, I cannot tell you. All I know is that I got the dream in 2013/14. The next scene, I then was in this room, you will remember, with where there were these older ladies typing, executives that were typing, and the room that they were in was reinforced and stable. It was not dangerous, but the carpet on the floor was incredibly dirty. I told you guys that, well, I mean, of course, the dirty carpet represents a presence of sorcery, ditsila, involvement in dark arts, involvement in sorcery, Satanism. So herein lies the deal. There is no way under heaven that you can convert a country thriving industrially so with a whole bunch of young career women after the nation overcomes apartheid, and so nobody here is trying to block women from getting ahead. There's no way you can prosper to take a nation like that and successfully create a Stepford system, a system of creating Stepford wives, right, without the world looking at you wagging their heads on what's happening in South Africa. So what is Stepford wives? Just in case you all don't understand what I'm talking about, there is this movie. It's actually free on YouTube. I encourage you to go and watch it. It's called The Stepford Wives. There is a more modern version, but you're not going to find that on YouTube. The 1970 whatever version, frankly, is perfect on its own. It's just this like eerie little town called Stepford where men want women to be these barefoot and pregnant ladies that are robotic, that don't talk very much, that don't have any movement in themselves, and all they do is just be at the beck and call of these men, and they are basically robotized. The actual real woman has passed away, and they have replaced her with a robotic female, and these ladies are, yes sir, ladies, women. And initially when this a woman comes into Stepford, she's like, she thinks it's normal what's happening, but then there's like this alarm at one particular time of the day that when it goes off, these ladies take some pill and then they go back to doing what they're doing. They are pruning their gardens, they are baking croissants, they are planting chrysanthemums in their buildings, type establishment thing. One time she tries to this one lady gets this woman wants an assistant for her business that she is running, and she tries to hire what do you call this, like somebody to be her assistant. A lady rocks up to be interviewed, and she is like really robotic, and when this woman asks her, so tell me about yourself and also tell me how you're going to do this particular job, her answers are very rote and weird and strange, and this woman, and everything that she's answering is basically about her husband and her children. Yes, she is there for a job interview. The woman then is like, I need somebody that's also going to be able to do research, and this woman is like, no, all I do is type. I can type for you, I can do minutes for you, but I'm not going to be able to actually be proactive and do research and study for you and be, more than what it is that then I basically am allowed to do as an employee. So essentially what was being communicated there is that all you get to be is a receptionist, all you get to do is type, all you get to do is be a switchboard agent, all you get to do is be a wife that is barefoot and pregnant. If at all you are going to be working, you have got to work a job in a corporate that is fit for women. So like, be an assistant, be a personal assistant, be a whatever, but nothing more than that. You don't get to use your mind. And this lady was like, well, this is a weird interviewee, whatever. She tries to like move on right ahead. She tries to ignore this thing that's happening, but then really it just keeps getting worse and worse. It goes from bad to worse until she realizes or there is an ominous thing going on in this particular city, because one of the ladies, she meets her, she is still normal, she has yet to be converted, she's playing tennis, and then when they go to visit her next time, she's busy talking robotically. Ultimately they discover that there is something that the men in Stepford are doing to the women to make them robots. They basically kill their wives off and replace them with robots that are just zombies that are there for the basic beck and call of men. Alright, that is the movie Stepford Wives. Go check it out. You cannot effect a Stepford strategy in a country in 2013, at least at the time was 2014, in 2023, in 2014, in 2013, without the globe looking at your nation like it's messed up. And so in the days of apartheid, why it is that apartheid to a certain extent was even abolished was because we got ostracized by the world for being a Stepford nation. Racism was a Stepford system because they were trying to force down the throats of non-blacks, of non-whites, a certain education, a certain place to live, and it was just unacceptable to the world. So they ostracized them, they left them out of the Olympics, they sanctioned the living daylights out of them until eventually they capitulated. It was one of the many things that were used to bring about the end of apartheid. So you don't get out of that as a nation and then literally repeat history, but this time around, instead of it being apartheid South Africa, it is like violence on women, where you are forcing, thanks to apartheid being eradicated, them to still operate in days of apartheid type oppression, where they can't go to school, where all they gotta do is just take care of men. All they gotta do is you don't get to do that. These are the kinds of things that cause feminism. Like women can sometimes are prepared and happy to be very wifely to men and basically they're helper suitables without even complaining. But when you start to shove something down a person's throat, that's when they start to rebel, and so that's when feminism rears its ugly head. You will remember at the very beginning of this series, I spoke about the curse of Adam, and how it is that the Adam's curse was basically, from now on, you will try and lord it over your wife with an iron fist. But Eve, your desire will be for your husband. So the withholding of affection makes Eve's desire for Adam really hard. And the fact that Eve sometimes is just like, she is rebellious, she does not want to be run by Adam, it then causes Adam to employ strategies to lord it over her with an iron fist that are frankly nefarious, diabolical, and ungodly. And I said to women, unless you repent, unless you do a better thing and seek the Lord's face, you are not going to be cured. You're not going to be healed from this thing that's coming at you, because Lentolena that is attacking women in the country is spiritual. It is spiritual, and there is no overwhelming spiritual structures, but for the name of Jesus, literally there's no other way out of this. So Christ is the only way to discombobulate and bomb whatever this occult secret society has done. So women have got to get godly, otherwise you will ever be in dangerous terrain. And when you are godly and this witchcraft is not working, men are just going to end up looking really unloving. They're just going to end up really just unserving and frankly defeatist against their own countries, and by them being conquered by the Holy Spirit in us, they will correct their ways or perish. Literally, they will have to repent or perish. However, women unfortunately are being pitted against each other, and indeed that is exactly what happened in this particular room with these other older ladies, pitting against each other, dividing therefore, and so thus conquering the females that never ever gained any kind of deliverance in this particular dream of mine. All right, this ominous room with these ladies that were typing, that were older. Like I said, you cannot employ, if you're smart, a strategy of this nature unless you create some kind of a veil of things still looking normal. So men, they knew this little stupid secret society, they knew that they can't kick all the women out of corporate South Africa, because then it's going to look weird, it's going to look militant, it is going to look oppressive, it is going to look like apartheid South Africa. They cannot suddenly reduce significantly at that the number or the percentage of women that are working in corporate or in business, the success of them. They cannot take them out without looking like a nation that is ridiculous, without like bringing on their own shores sanctions from the globe upon gazing at the mistreatment of women. So they can't, so therefore to take all of them out does not make sense. And again, there have to be women, since this is an affirmative action strategy even in the country, there have to be women that are in positions of power. They have got to be women that successfully get to the height, or the loftiest ones at that, to heights, the loftiest ones at that in corporate. They have got to be female CEOs. They've got to be female executives. They have got to be female business owners. They have got to be, yes, they have got, you get your mind. They cannot be absolutely zero, nobody in the woman arena that is going to be perusing the aisles of economic South Africa. So they knew that they needed to create a facade of things still being, or of structure still being there to support women in their journey forward. So then they came up with a branch of the secret society where they will be the ones to decide which women get there, which women sit in positions of honor, which women get to be boss ladies, which women get to basically make the country look good. But these women had to work for them. These women had to work for them so that they can control the narrative of these ladies, and so that these women also in and of themselves thwart other women, but by creating a facade of being supportive of other women. So in this room, one of the ladies I recognized as an executive in my former company, I don't know if God was showing me that she's involved in such a dark thing as this. That's irrelevant. Bottom line is, these executive ladies were in this room, and remember, this is a typing room as well. So in and of themselves, they are handled. In and of themselves, they are being controlled. In and of themselves, they're in this nefarious situation where they don't actually have much wiggle room. Typing in my school was a subject for just women, all right, for just girls, and indeed I only took it up to grade 9 as well, and then I dropped it, right? So these women also, they have basically got a linear regression constraint set around them that says you will go this far and not no further. You will do only so much, but in comparison to the rest of the women in South Africa, they are doing extremely well. In comparison to everybody else among us, that not even in South Africa, guys, let me say black community. In comparison to women in the black, other women in the black community, they're the only ones that are doing okay. All right, Ishman. Sorry, in comparison to all the other women, they're the ones that are doing extremely well. Now, how do you get women to stab other women in the back like this? How do you get women to be prepared to basically decimate your nation's worth of women? What is this? In order to effect an agenda that you understand is just disgusting. Precisely. This then brings me to the next point. Okay, women, monawalona. Your general problem, really, frankly, according even to Jesus, is gossip. All right, you are described as meddlers and busybodies. The Lord says of you in the scriptures, if you get widowed young, go and get married, because if you don't get married, you're going to intend or incline towards gossiping and being a busybody. So keep yourself busy with rather other affairs. Be about your father's business. Make like Rebecca, okay? Because the devil understands what it is that is the weakness of a woman, the Achilles heel of a woman. He then uses it. Your jealousy, women's jealousy is just menacing. What is the word that I'm looking for? It's tactless. It is tactless. I came up, of course, and yet here it is at the age of 38, having lost everything. What the heck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Now, women, so this is something that guys have always just kind of had up on us. Let's just put that out there. When we start dating, guys, we abandon, do you understand? We ditch, we walk away from, we absolutely neglect to recall. When a woman is dating a new man, she changes on her girls. she becomes this arrogant little no-brainer, especially if this dude has upgraded her in some shape, form, or whatever, right? If he has upgraded her, this woman will start to act towards her girls like they stank and she defecates ice cream. I saw what happened with my crew of girlfriends. One of our girls met a wealthy guy, right, that proposed marriage to her, and she was en route marriage, and around the time of her meeting this guy, all of a sudden, it's like we stank. It's like when she looked at us, she just looked at us and we were these, like, refugees that are in dire need, frankly, of asylum seeking, a type establishment thing in her particular grill. She just wanted to prance her strange life to us, and she lacked humility. Yeah, women do that. And again, when they also start dating guys, you could be hanging out with your friends every weekend, partying it up a storm, painting this town red, and then you meet a guy and all of a sudden your girls don't get a phone call from you anymore. All of a sudden don't nobody see you. Guys don't do that. Guys do not do that. Men just do not ditch their boys. When you start dating a new guy, all of a sudden you're partying with him and his friends, but do you still continue to party with your girls? Do you still continue to hang with your girls? No, it doesn't happen. And that is something that the devil discovered. And indeed it is, what do you call this, like the curse on Eve. It is written in God's word about Eve. After she and Adam fell, the Lord said to Adam, you're going to lord it over Eve with an iron fist, but the desire of Eve is going to be for you. And that is a judgment on her, right? From now on, your desire will be for your husband. In other words, everything you will drop your kinto at your own peril sometimes just to please a guy. Therefore, girls ditch women when boys rock up in the room. They ditch them in the worst way, leaving them icy cold. They want to be the one with the best kids, the best husband, the best everything. And in order to basically parade your success in marriage and with children and in a relationship with your husband or your boyfriend, you will ice out abangan bako. You will literally ice them out. You are not even trying to celebrate with them on some, ooh, ladies are falling in love, and all of y'all are like, congratulations, sister. You don't even want to do that. You want them to be like, ooh, ladies are falling in love. Look at me, I'm better than you. That is the jealousy of women. It is just menacing. It's menacing, and it is also destructive. All these women that are dropping like flies from gender-based violence in South Africa, there were women in their lives that could have warned them better, and yet they didn't. Like, women will literally leave even umgan wakona. They will leave their friends in relationships, right, without giving them any warning, admonition in advance, with guys that are obviously destructive. I personally partook in the mutiny against some of my friends because I observed their boyfriends cheating on them, and instead of telling my girl, I saw your man cheating, he unatlisite side piece, unatlisite, jump off all up in this girl, instead of letting her know. I've even done this to my own cousin, alright, my own cousin. Like they say, blood is thicker than water, not when it comes to guys. Yeah, no, I will keep quiet. I will literally keep this bastard's secret. I will literally keep the scrub's secret. I will keep the secret of the guy when I owe no allegiance to him. I am not loyal to him. I am more suited to this woman beyond you. I knew her all my life. We've been hanging out as girls all my life. I only met you when you met her, and yet I will keep her secret. I will keep his secret on your behalf. I did not tell my best friend that my boyfriend told me that her boyfriend prided himself in basically cheating on her and creating multiple babies across these streets because he is similar to her dad. When my ex told me this, he trusted that I'm not going to go my best friend. He trusted that I'm not going to go and tell my best friend, and you know what? He was right. I didn't tell her that her boyfriend prides himself in just planting his seed out in these streets across like South Africa, never mind just Johannesburg. That's how we are as women, and this is a weakness. It's a loophole. It is also a curse because it is written in God's word. Go Eve. From now on, your desire will be for your husband, meaning you will do whatever it takes to please this man, including comprehensively abandoning and neglecting the needs of fellow females. Now, that would not necessarily be such a big deal if men actually took care of men, women, and children, of little boys and girls as well as women. If men actually abided in their responsibility to cater to the needs of women and children. When, however, you've got a society of men not taking care of women and children, you have got a capitalistic or an exploitative man cave that recognizes the tears, the cuts, the cracks in the female community and literally uses them, runs with it, exploits the circumstance. And that's exactly what in the world under heaven was going on in this dream. These women, they want to be number one. Back in the day, they used to compete over, I got the baddest husband, I got the baddest child, I got the baddest this. Now it's I got the baddest career, to a point of literally standing back, albeit being in a position to help yourself sister get a job, watching her gravel through the mud, struggling, and busy jumping from pillar to post, go to employment agencies, being told, I'm sorry, you've rusted because you have not been employed for 1 year, in a position to push along. I personally, at one point, had 2 executives in my immediate family at one point in my life. Both of them were executives and they refused to help me get a job. One of them was an executive at a telecommunications company when I have got telecommunications experience. And they just stood back and watched me gravel and keep it gravel with a gap in my CV. And busy apply go career junction, struggling to even get recruitment agencies to call me. Here it is, and now I'm sitting literally with a gap in my CV of 8 to 9 years. I essentially look unemployable, like I, for the life of me, cannot do anything at all. And these women are just watching me gather dust, rot, and suffer. That is the strategy of this secret society. Competition in way bodyling. Women as well that will go out of their way to use witchcraft to knock each other down to the ground. And then these brazen females have the bravado for the life of them to then stand in front of a camera, stand in front of a mic in a radio station being interviewed on a podcast once they become a chartered accountant heading an accounting division of an organization to be like, I am proliferating the agenda of young girls. I want to make sure that young girls take maths in school, that they might end up like me. I want to encourage young girls to study in fields of engineering and medicine, that they might be more women in these fields. Lomuntu, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when her career was just starting out, she literally with witchcraft went to blow the feet of her own friend that was doing well in corporate, and now she's struggling to get a promotion despite being the best girl in the job, or even a job at all. So how in the world did they recruit these women to agree to do this to other women? Precisely through the cracks in women. One, they want the approval of men, even though these guys are not looking out for them, so much so that they will knock to the ground other women. And then secondly, their competitive spirit, their gossiping nature, being busybodies. What does gossip do? When women gossip, hardly ever do women gossip men. Hardly ever do they gossip the next door neighbor's son. Women gossip each other. I grew up watching my own mom, listening to her when I was with her at like these random gatherings of her and her girls. Whenever one girl was not there, whenever one woman was not there, she would be the topic of discussion at that meeting. Hey, Pinky, this or that, this or that, they would discuss her all day, wondering, but isn't this poor Pinky like a whole bunch of disgusting gossip that happens because one girl is not there. The next meeting, Pinky's there and Mina is not. Mina will then be the topic of discussion. They just tear each other down. They bring each other down, and they don't actually have each other's backs. One of my girls, when she was getting married, a couple of years ago, she was so unhappy on her wedding day because there were so many bad vibes coming to her in the room from the chomi that she invited to a wedding that frankly she had to pay for per table. She had paid for them to eat the dessert, the starter, and all that stuff. And here it is that they were passing her shade. She could not even do a photo op comfortably. She was basically passing back shade to all the girls that were giving her shade, including me. I wasn't giving her shade, but she passed me shade because she didn't know who there she could trust. But hey, they're at her wedding. When that is the damper in your step on your own wedding day, because I don't know, and even then, in the run-up to her wedding, was intense. It was hard knock, and it was because all these other girls were jealous of her galingalo. That is what's going on in the community of females. Ain't no love. So therefore, they thought relationships, they thought careers, bachatana, and if a satanic man comes to you and then offers you a smooth glide up the corporate ladder, only insofar as you're prepared to mow to the ground other women, you will take it because it's your disease as a woman. It's your disease. So essentially, what God was showing me through the strategy is that there are pre-selected women that are to fill not only corporate South Africa big jobs, but business South Africa. The only ones that are allowed to have their businesses thrive, the only ones that are allowed to not get chock-a-blocks, the only ones that will get tenders, the only ones that will not be thwarted, the only ones that will not have witchcraft done on them, preventing them from getting their businesses off the ground. When they agree to sign their souls to the devil with this occult secret society, they then get guaranteed to become one day the CEO of a telecommunications company, to one day become a mogul, right, in business, and they will then, after, in the run run up to getting this thing obviously get like interviewed at radio shows, at talk shows. They will get interviewed on TV. They will be put on in magazines, and their motto, the thing that they will keep rapping on about, hypocrisy, is, oh my goodness, I totally am a big fat chunky advocate for the proliferation of the education of women. I want young ladies to study, and I'm creating a benefit for them. I'm creating a scholarship fund for young girls so they can study in the fields of this and that. And I have created an internship for just girls. And we as women, we have to stick together, because if we don't stick together, who in the world is going to help us along? You will recall in that dream I had that woman come and talk to me, telling me about how it is that as women we must stick together. She's really got my back. But then she went and whispered with like some satanic man, a top hat, almost sisane, a tall skinny dude wearing a top hat. That is always an image of a demon in my dream. It looks like that. And this man with her, they were busy gossiping. And then she came back to me and she was like, yo, Agarabo, as I was saying. And something in me understood that she was a hypocrite. She was duplicitous. She was two-faced. All the women in that room were executives in corporate South Africa, but they were still typing. In other words, they can only get where they need to get insofar as men approve. The men in this secret society. So they are shooting themselves in the foot. The end result is gender-based violence. The end result is these women watching their sisters getting massacred. The end result is them swallowing a tough pill, frankly, because really, because really, no pain, no gain. And for them, the pain is watching women just get massacred while they get to rise. And then they're always the ones that are quick to say, girl, you cannot blame it on witchcraft. You need to look within, do introspection, because look at me. Look at how successful I am. Yeah, of course, you've been chosen by a nefarious society that is massacring women in the country, but you get to be the only one all right. They allow women to work in corporate. They allow them to get to certain positions, but you are going to observe, if at all you have a keen eye, a whole bunch of women suddenly getting retrenched, a whole bunch of women suddenly losing jobs, a whole bunch of women suddenly deciding to quit to go and take care of children at home, a whole bunch of women suddenly starting businesses and they fall and plummet, a whole bunch of women not getting promoted the way that they need to get promoted, like getting passed up for job opportunities and stuff like that. You will watch that and you'll be like, Mara, where's Alang? And strangely, guys will just be moving on along. So even though corporate South Africa might be teeming at the folds with women, just watch them. Just watch what happens to them and see how some of them all of a sudden they feel a brick wall. And the thing that does that is not just the secret society of nefarious men, but it's other women, because they trust that women divide and conquer. They will scratch each other eyeballs out. They won't help one another along. I am a typical classical case in point. Not a single woman has reached out a hand to help me, and trust me, ain't none of these boys ever gonna help me either, because there is only one way out for me. I gotta capitulate. I gotta satanize myself. I gotta allow sex to ravage me. I have got to allow some dude to rescue me, or pelile, because ain't no woman coming. Y'all need to get, ain't no woman coming for me. And when I reject the disgusting men, they're like, well, I guess you better die then, which then is the reason why my foot would like cave into the ground if I tried to move freely. Look at me now. Look at my life today. I'm not cursed, you guys, but I am used of the Lord to help you understand what this curse looks like. A completely viable, bright, intelligent, educated woman struggling to get a job with people in her family, some of whom are executives of companies, not even trying to reach a hand of help, even in the slightest. This is what is happening in the country. So when I, as a woman that's got a job as a project manager, exactly, you're not supposed to be a PM, you're supposed to be an SM and you know it. You're supposed to be a senior manager and you know it. Yet somebody else got the promotion. That somebody else is not even as good as you. Yet somehow, strangely, they keep on getting favor. Yeah, there are women that have signed their souls over to this system, and one day tomorrow they're going to be the executive of your company, and they will have gotten there because this secret society approved them. Next part.